This is our first show in this series, which will hopefully go on for a while. My name is Alan. I'll be the host, and it features a full-body open deep trance channel named April Crawford, also a best-selling author, and a causal plane entity that we call Veronica, because she wouldn't give us a name. She didn't like labels at the time, so we picked one, and it stuck, and now everybody in the universe that I talk to knows about Veronica. The plan for this show is first to give a very brief background of the players, me, April, and Veronica, and then to ask a series of questions to Veronica and April, telling their story essentially to start. And then if we have time, and I think we will, we're going to have a series of questions from Oprah Winfrey that she asked on her show Super Soul Sunday. And I think we're ready to go. So my story is that I'm facilitator for April Crawford and also essentially an administrative assistant for Veronica. I've had the fortunate position of having hundreds of in-person sessions, which nobody else in the world has had. And I also set up all of the telephone readings and in-person readings that Veronica has had with people all around the world, including people that fly in from other countries to talk to her in person. And by the way, that includes medical doctors, psychologists, and just regular people. So that's my gig. April Crawford is a full-body open deep trance channel, and what that long title means is full body means full body. I mean, she's out, they're in. This is not like the sleeping prophet. She can, when they come in, they can walk around. They can look you in the eye. They can have a glass of wine if they want. Many don't. They can eat if they want. Many don't, although some really like warm goat cheese. So that's what the full body part means. I mean, they're in. They can run around, and actually I don't like it when they run downstairs because I just don't trust them that much. Anyway, that's the full body part. It's totally in. It's not like, weird or anything. It's like talking to a person regularly. If you were in person with them. The open part means that many can come in. It's not just Veronica. It's many. I've talked to dozens. And it's just not different ones, different types. For instance, I've talked to some that were in between lives, lots of them. I've talked to some that were still focused in their past, which was, let's say, the lives of King Henry or something. And then I've also talked to entities like Veronica that are causal plane entities. Some entities never incarnate. Others do frequently. And we've talked to some that didn't even know physical reality existed until they first came through and were fully physical. It's been incredible, and there's just no limit to it. So that's my story, and that's Veronica's and April's intro. So now I'm going to hand the phone to April and ask her to talk about what it was like for her to find out she's a full-body open deep trance channel. And was it weird? I mean, how did that happen anyway? Is she ever afraid when it happens? And where does she go when it happens? So hold on for April.
Hi, everyone. I'm April Crawford, and I'm a deep trance channel. And that's not something I ever thought I would be saying ever in my life. When I was a young woman, I was a professional dancer, very physical. I came to Los Angeles to dance professionally. I've done Broadway shows, and movies, and television for a very long time. And it was, maybe 30 years ago now. I had a very good friend who was a dancer also that was very into this kind of thing. And I had just gone through a bad breakup, so she started inviting me to these spiritual, gatherings, thinking that it would be very helpful to me. And, of course, it was. I mean, there was nothing but unconditional love, and there was all this wonderful energy, so I kept coming. And there were people there that were studying to be channels or were channels, and I would sit and listen to all of it, but I was brought up a Catholic girl. I went to an all-girl boarding school, Catholic. So I had a completely different background than what all this was, but I did find it interesting. And one time when I was there, I remember I felt tired because I probably had a full day dancing somewhere. And it was like I fell asleep, and I was a bit embarrassed because I was like, oh my God, I fell asleep. I'm waking up, and everyone in the room was staring at me oddly, like, do you know what just happened? And I'm like, no. So they proceeded to tell me that this energy came in. It was a female energy, and they decided that they would call it Veronica, and that it was a really great thing. Now, being someone as who I wasn't all that thrilled about not knowing what happened. And, coming back and there's this, everyone in the room was going, oh, there's this wonderful energy that came in. So it took me a while to get comfortable with that, but because of this loving group of people, I got more and more comfortable with it. And eventually, Alan and I, he was in this group, decided to get married, decided to, do a life together. And for the first 10 years of our marriage, he was always trying to get me to channel for people. And I would channel for people that were like close friends, or if, it was an associate or something, then I would do it. It took him a long time to convince me that this is something I should do. It was maybe 9-10 years into our marriage when he provided for me an individual who wanted a phone session. Stomach over it because I was like, a phone session? Oh my God, I don't know, I can't do it. And I decided I was going to try to do it. Now, when it all unfolded, it unfolded very nicely, and it turned out that I could do it. And I consciously did not remember anything of it, which was a delight to me because I didn't really want to know. And the woman involved found the session to be very helpful, which made me feel good. So I decided, okay, maybe I can do this. I changed my mind about it. So over the years, and we've been doing this now for at least 15, almost 20 years, and I find it all to be very interesting on a lot of levels. I go to different places. I do not want to be involved in any of the sessions because it would be probably upsetting to me if I did. People call in with all kinds of stuff that they want to talk about. So what I do is that I go to other places. I'm a big genealogy fan of my own family history, and what this has allowed me to do is to walk into the horizon as Veronica's walking in and go to places like maybe in the past where I have maybe a great-great-grandfather who is participating in his life, and I get to take a look at it. I get to see him walking through his life. It's like, I guess it's like home movies. And it's always very fascinating to me. It takes me completely out of the picture, and it allows Veronica to come in and do what she does. So I find it now to be a great relationship with her. I never listen to anything, really. And she handles all of the sessions, and I just sort of get lost. I just go off into the horizon and do other things. So it's been quite a journey, and I've really never would have thought this when I was 20 that I would be doing this, but I am. I'm doing it. And it's a delight. And the relationship with Veronica is one of the deepest close friends you could ever imagine. And I'm never afraid because I know that her energy is going to be there if I should need it. And I have never run into a bad energy. I mean, I've heard a lot about it, but I've never had that experience. All of the energies that I've ever encountered in the corridor have been delightful. So it's a good thing for me, and I'm hoping it's a good thing for everyone else.
Okay, Alan back again. And so it only takes a few seconds, maybe half a minute or less, when Veronica knows we're going to do one of these radio shows or a private reading. So as soon as Veronica gets here, I am going to hand her the phone and ask her a few questions. 10, 9, 8. She's here. So hold on for Veronica. My questions for Veronica are basically, who are you, Veronica? And bear in mind, we gave her that name because she wouldn't give us a label in the beginning. She's been both male and female. That's what I'll tell you about her. But Veronica, who are you? what are you, and why are you here? For instance, you could be running the galaxies right now, different dimensions, running the streets, having fun, and yet you're here with us. Those are the 3 questions. Hold on.
Good day to all of you. We are Veronica, and we have been asked who we are. We are a causal plane entity with over 3,000 individual energies within that, which makes it a nice thing that we can call upon other perspectives and energies if someone asks us a question. It isn't just coming from us. It is coming from a conglomerate of 3,000. We do this because it's part of our evolution and part of our desire to be helpful to those who are stuck in a dense physical reality to find some clarity when they can't find it for themselves. We come here with the message of love and the ability to be honest and knowing within yourself. We wish very much for all to awaken, rather robotic, as one, gets up, goes through their day, the day ends, and then you go back and you do the same thing again without any idea of why you're here or what you're up to. We think you came here for the physical experience. Okay, we agree with that. But you also came here to be aware, to be looking outside of yourself a little bit for that spiritual connection, because it's the spiritual part of you that's participating in the physical linear to become more advanced and more expansive in its perspective. We think that all of you have the ability to tap into your spiritual self and live from that perspective with full conscious thinking rather than just sort of tromping through your day in a daze. It's much better to be aware, to know that there are things beyond your fingertips, to know that there are things that intersect physically but don't necessarily present themselves that way. And it's important for you to be aware enough to say, look at that. This is something that will help me and make me find comfort and growth in this physical life. So that is why we are here, dear.
Okay, well, I have another question before we get to Oprah's big questions, and that is, Veronica, a lot of people, especially in the beginning, say, well, how can you do a reading or a consultation with somebody who's halfway across the world? Don't you need a picture? Don't you need to see them in person? Don't you need to hold something that they owned? Any of that stuff. Like, how can you do it? And then how can you possibly talk to them about, relationships, friends, and relatives and things? How is that possible, and is it true that you can do it?
Well, that perspective is very physically linear. We do not need to touch anything that you physically linear own or to look you in the eye, although we have looked some in the eye, and it's always delightful. But we are an energy. We are expanded way far beyond the physical reality, and we are able, let's say if someone's in the Ukraine, we are able, full inflection of their voice, be able to read their energy through any great distance, because for us it's not a great distance. It is linear to think such ways. So we'd say that being able to do what we do is because we are not physical. Now, we are using the physical form of the April Crawford merely for convenience. But we can move into anyone's energy should they just speak a word, and then the rest is history.
Okay. Well, now I suppose we might as well get to Oprah Winfrey's questions. And again, these are not my questions. These are questions Oprah asked on her show, Super Soul Sunday, which I have enjoyed and suggest you check it out if you're interested in these subjects. So the first question Oprah asked Veronica was, what is the difference between religion and spirituality?
The difference between spirituality and religion is man-made. It is something that was contrived to control the masses, to help herd people into good behavior. Spirituality is ethereal made. It comes from the spirit, it comes from your soul, And it comes from the perspective that having a linear experience is an extension of that soul. We think that it is important to be awake and honest in this reality. And understanding that religion, it has been put together to, maybe in the early medieval times, put together to control everyone or to help everyone adapt a good behavior. That's usually how it was. So we say that the ethereal part, spirituality, never has any conditions on it. It is always unconditional and it is always expansive. Religion has a lot of conditions and sometimes not so expansive.
This is a question from Oprah Winfrey. It was her sixth question. I think it was her first question, and that is, what happens when we die? Hold on for Veronica.
It is not a homogeneous, standard kind of experience. It is based mostly upon your belief system. And the belief system takes a projection that you can walk into. So whatever religious moment you might be participating in, you're going to project that so that you will feel that in a comfort kind of way when you first get there. But what really happens is that when you leave the form, there is an expansive movement of energy. Now, some will say, oh, it's a bright light, there's a tunnel, there's all these things. That is the expansion of energy happening. And as you move into it, you are met by those who care deeply about you, not just from the life you just left. It could be some from another lifetime. And you get there and you're met by guides and you're met by people or energies that care for you. And there is a feeling of peace and calm. Now, most are tremendously surprised because some think, well, I'm just going to lose my awareness. I'm going to be in a pool of, energy and just sort of become all involved in that and lose my individuality. But the surprising thing for a lot of individuals is that you get there and you remember everything from the life you just had, plus all the other ones. And if you were still in the linear, that would be overwhelming. But if you're not in the linear, it's not overwhelming. It's expansive, comforting, and big wow moment. There could be energies that come towards you that perhaps you weren't close to in this particular life you just left. But when you see them, you remember completely and clearly where you knew them from and have great excitement at seeing them again. There is no pain. There is a feeling of etherealness and lightness. So if someone was, like, say, crossing out from something that was very hard physically, that they were in a lot of pain, they're not in any pain anymore. And if they wish to project their image, they can project it if they want to. So it's easy. It's comfortable. Now, some who are very entrenched in belief systems will project that belief system, like maybe the pearly gates of heaven, and they may do that for a bit until their guides help them easily start to focus on what the truth is. But it's done with great respect, great care, great love, and no one feels poorly during the process. In fact, if you've been in great pain or you crossed over because of some great accident, there is no pain. There is nothing but calmness and peacefulness. There is no reason to fear death. There is not really a, quote, heaven or hell. We think that on an energetic level, there is this space of calmness where you meet with your guides, you contemplate what happened in the life and what didn't happen in the life, and how you're going to proceed from there. And in the midst of all that, you are surrounded by unconditional love from energies that have known and loved you. Some from this life, some from not from this life. So there is no real definition. It's an open canvas for anyone who crosses over. And most are surprised. Most feel a bit of like, wow, this is way more than I expected. And okay, I'm here. And it's all right. And then they realize they're able also to extend themselves to those are sort of left behind in the linear, and they feel good about it. So it's not an end. It's actually a beginning and an expansive view of where you've been and what you've already done, not just from the life you just left.
Okay, and now I will move on to Oprah's, what she said was her third question. Again, I said that the life after death was probably what she really was interested in, but her third question is, what is the soul?
The soul is a electromagnetic representation in the physical reality. It's electromagnetic. But when you take it out of that context, it is a vibration that has the signature of you in it. And it's not just you that you know right now, all the yous you've ever been. And when you're not in physical reality doing things in a linear fashion, this is much easier to comprehend and feel. But if you are, in the linear reality, it can be a little difficult to comprehend because you say, oh, that's a lot. How can anyone think all of that? But you have to remember, once you're out of this current environment, you are just as expansive as everything that is there. And none of this will be difficult to assimilate.
Okay, now moving on to some of Oprah's other questions. She said, finish this sentence. The world needs ... What does the world need?
The world needs understanding. The world needs acceptance. The world needs to get out of their own way and decide to live peacefully. You have a culture that everyone feels the great need to be right, the great need to impose their thoughts upon others. And there's plenty of room on the planet you're on for people to participate in whatever thoughts they have. So we would say great understanding and greater feeling of empathy for everyone else. And that's hard to do sometimes because you're in your own environment and you can get caught up in it and have blinders on and not see everything else. So we would say greater understanding would probably be the first on the list, my dear.
Okay, well, this next question, and again, they're not asked of causal plane entities, but speculators. The next question is, finish this sentence. Love is ... So what is love in your perception, Veronica?
Love is acceptance. Love is not defining anybody by your own personal agenda, but love is accepting everyone with their participation in how they're doing things. Now, you can have a family member that played in something you don't understand, but you accept them and you say, I love you, and all right, you're doing that particular, moment, but I don't get it, but I accept you, and I support you, even though I don't understand what you're doing. So we'd say love is very much being open and accepting of others. No matter what their perspective is, no matter what their focus is, you love them. And you say, well, you're my family. Okay, I love you. Or you're someone that I care deeply about. I love you. So whatever you're doing, I don't get it, but okay, you're doing it. And no matter what you do or what you say, I'm still here for you. That is love.
Okay, next on this Oprah Winfrey special. Here's another question that you would like answered, and that is, finish this sentence. I believe in ... So, Veronica, what do you believe in? I know that's an expansive question, but maybe just a little sliver.
Spirit in general believes in the goodness of all others who are incarnate or whatever experience they're having. Spirit always trusts that energy will do the best they can. And if they can't, Spirit will do everything they can to support those who are trying to do the best they can. But sometimes you have run into people who don't want to do the best they can and fall off the edge. But being supportive is probably the best answer we can give here. That's what you should be doing.
Okay, and Oprah Winfrey's final question for this radio show, there are others, is, Veronica, What do you know for sure?
We know that the consciousness moment is eternal. Your consciousness, whether it's incarnate in a body or whether it's moving fluidly through non-dimensional space or dimensional space, exists. And it does not waver. It does not die out and go away. It is an eternal moment. So you, as a human being who is participating consciously in that human being moment, are eternal. All of you. And accepting that and deciding that that's the way you want to go consciously is an important item. You are vast. You will continue eternally. You'll have different experiences, but you will continue, whether you're in a form or you're not in a form. And there's no changing that. That is how it works. So we say take a deep breath, enjoy the current ride that you're in, enjoy that, but then decide that no matter when this session ends, this life ends, that you will continue. And the beauty is that you're going to remember everything once you get out of this current linear moment. And that kind of energy, that kind of perspective is beautiful. It is something that can enhance the life you're currently in if you have time to think about it. And we want to encourage all of you to think. We want to encourage all of you to think outside of your current linear moment. It's necessary. For a full advancement, it is necessary. So every day, take a good look at yourself. Maybe look in the mirror and say, okay, here you are. Our consciousness in this particular form at this particular time. I want to learn a lesson, obviously, for being here. And I'm going to take the time to think about that. I'm going to take the time to be aware of the opportunities that the current linear life gives me. And I'm going to continue to expand and grow outside of what my physicality is. I'm going to take that step and leap outward from myself. That's a very important thing to do. So we leave you this day with you deciding that you're going to think more. You're going to go outside of the box. We say color outside the lines. When you're a kid, they always say, okay, color within the lines. Why not color outside the lines and see what that brings you? You don't have to do it every day, but we do think you need to consider it, and you do need to step outside of what your current belief system is and say, you know what? Why not be expansive? Let me go forward and do that. So we would encourage all of you to be more than just who you are when you look in the mirror. Realize that you are a God energy manifested in that physical form, and be one. Be the God. Don't be just the human. Be the God. And connect with that source energy so that you can have a more expansive experience and a more fluid experience and be on your journey. Each life is a journey. It's a chapter in the book that is you. So decide that you're going to make the most of each one of it. Start thinking more, start contemplating more. Take time to separate from all the chaos that the current environment provides. You don't have to partake of it. You could step back and say, you know what? I'm going to have a moment here where I am just going internal. I'm going to think about who I am and where I've come from, and I'm going to expand and manifest that energy in my daily routine. That is what we wish you all to consider. You're all here on a journey, and you're all here to expand and grow. Start thinking about that and start becoming that. We think it will make a difference for all of you.
Okay, so that concludes Veronica's part. There are other subjects that I want to talk about in future sessions, one being reincarnation, like is it real, and a bunch of other stuff that I call what's it all about, Alfie kind of questions. That's what I'm interested in. But I can tell you that most people that call in to have consultations with Veronica are interested in highly specific personal issues. Most of them have to do with family or business relationships, and there's medical doctors that fly in from other countries to talk to Veronica in person, and they book a week. There's many in the United States that have sessions almost every week because they want to talk about their clients. They're psychologists, psychiatrists, and medical doctors. But there's also just regular individuals who want to talk about, hey, they got a 15-year-old kid and he's cutting himself, or, I want to improve my marriage, or, highly personal things and that's the way those sessions go. I don't even sit in on them anymore. I just answer the phone, hand Veronica the phone, and I get out of there because, frankly, it's like home movies to me. But Veronica has done over 10,000 consultations, 10,000. And I would say 90% of all of our clients are repeat clients, 98, 99%, and I'm talking about literally. So the question is, why bother with radio shows and extreme expense of sending out that newsletter, which is like fortune every year? And the reason is that part of me, a big part of me, doesn't know why, but I want to get it out, let people know that this exists, there's access exists, it's not going to be forever, and give it a shot. I put this little tagline on the end. If you want to find out more about April Crawford, try aprilcrawford.com. If you want the free newsletter from Veronica, it's innerwhispers.net. Veronica also has a Facebook page. It's Veronica via April Crawford. I almost forgot to mention, there are 10 books in print, all bestsellers on Amazon by April Crawford. Just go to Amazon and look up April Crawford. 6 of those books were written exclusively by Veronica via April. The other 4 were written by others via April. April participated in one of them. Check them out. They're going to provide a lot of extra information if you find yourself interested in this material. So anyway, that's it, our first session. So signing off.